Hi everyone, today we are going to analyze the game between Vishwanathan Anand and Anish Giri. To give a background, the two of them had played a match on the fourth day at Croatia Rapid and Blitz 2021. Vishwanathan Anand is returning to the over the board match after 1 year due to the pandemic. The format of the game was Blitz. Anish was playing the white pieces and Vishy was playing the black pieces. So let's analyze the game and learn something useful from it. Anish started the game with e4, Vishy replied with e5, normal pawn, king's pawn opening. Anish developed his knight to f3, attacking the pawn, and Vishy is defending the pawn with knight c6. Anish is going ahead with the Italian game, developing the bishop to c4. Vishy is playing the Gioco piano, developing his bishop to c5. Anish is playing the main line of Gioco piano, pushing the pawn to c3, developing Vishwanathan Anand developing his knight to f6, attacking the pawn on e4. Pawn is pushed to d3, giving a support to the e4 pawn. Pushing the pawn, Vishy is pushing the pawn to d6, supporting both bishop, pawn, and making a way for the light square bishop to develop. Anish is going with g5, pinning the knight to the queen. Vishy went with a6, controlling the b5 square and also making a way for the dark square bishop, basically a safety square for dark square bishop. Anish is developing his knight to d2. Vishy was overseeing a threat of the pawn being pushed to d4, so he has simply protected his bishop to a7. Anish went for castling, protecting his king. It's not good to keep his king at the center of the board. To unpin the knight, Vishy played h6. Anish is like, okay, I'm still going to pin your knight, and if you want to unpin it, you should push your pawn. Vishy went for that. Only one square where the bishop can move, that is g3. Vishy also thought, okay, it's better that I castle right now because I need to make my king safe. a4 was played by Anish. He was overseeing a game pushing the pawn to b5 at a later stage, so he wants to control this square. Knight was played to h7. Basically, there was a threat, maybe Vishwanathan Anand was seeing a threat of, maybe there will be a future threat of capturing, sacrificing a piece so the king side can get weakened, or maybe it can be a protection for the king. So it's a natural move. Anish pushed the pawn to h3, overseeing a push from Vichy. Vishwanathan Anand pushed his pawn to h5, trying to open the king side of white. Anish, not caring much about the king side, he is trying to open the center. Vichy is not at all scared about the center. He is going ahead with the king side opening. He just want to open the king side and attack the king side. Great. The bishop, only safe square for bishop. No other option. Vichy pushed his pawn, and no other option for Anish to capture the pawn. Otherwise, he will lose his knight or pawn. It's a free pawn. So Vichy will take it with the bishop. The knight is pinned to the queen. So to unpin it, Anish brings back his bishop to e2, takes. Yeah, so this move could have been better. What I feel, he could have developed his queen here. This was an engine move that was suggested, but it is human. It actually adds more pressure to attack the knight. Anyway, Vichy took it. Anish Giri took it with the pawn. That was not the best move. It opens the king side. He could have taken it with the knight, or maybe even the bishop. Could have taken it with the knight, or maybe even the bishop would have been better. Knight will give an attack to here, will attack here. So more options. Then Vichy replied, he wants to control the G file at a later stage, but he tried to open the center. Now Anish has the option of capturing it back, but then it will be easily captured by the knight, and it will be a good square for the knight, controlling key squares. So that was not that he didn't want that. So he played f4. Vishwanathan Anand replied with king to h8, making the king safe, and maybe trying to control the G file. Anish also went with protecting the king to h1. Yeah, Vichy is trying to control the G file. Yeah, developing the bishop to make it a better piece. I think the suggested move by the engine was to keep it at c4. It would have given much more edge, and it cannot be attacked with pushing this pawn, because it can be captured using the a4 pawn. Vishwanathan Anand replied by capturing the center. Anish has no other option, just to capture the pawn. developing the queen and connecting the rooks, which is important. Anish, I think, was scared of this diagonal movement through this diagonal, and the queen looks deadly. But this was not a good move as suggested by the engine, because it actually weakens this square. So this knight can easily jump in here and attack multiple. It's a center square, and very good square for the knight to sit. Vishwanathan Anand took that chance, trying to attack the knight. I think, but he could have easily taken with the bishop. Bishop is anyway in a pathetic position. He could have exchanged it, but trying to develop knight and capture it. Okay, Vishy is trying to protect the knight. I think he should have just jumped his knight to here, maybe attacking more options for him. That was the best option, I think. Okay, capturing the knight. Won't this be a good option? Capturing with the bishop. No. Anyway, both are bad, I think. Captures. Yeah, I think this is more balanced, I feel. He cannot capture it with the queen. He has to definitely capture it with the pawn. Then Anish plays try to attack the pawn on b7. It is weak. It is undefended, and Vishwanathan Anand goes with c6. The queen is protecting the pawn, and maybe at a later stage he is trying to push the pawn. Anish Giri replied with queen to h5, trying to pin the knight, maybe some attack, some kind of attack in the near future, maybe by adding more pressure in this key square, possible. Yeah, as discussed earlier, Vishwanathan Anand went with pushing the pawn to b5. Anish Giri will definitely capture it. Vishwanathan captures it with the a6 pawn. Anish Giri trying to pin the knight, but it is well defended by the rook, by the queen. It's well defended by the queen. Adding some more support to the e5 pawn so that the queen can roam freely. Otherwise, queen was the supporter of this pawn. Okay, maybe trying to central, trying to make the bishop a little bit more active by maybe placing it in the b3 square, possible in the future. Okay, Vishwanathan Anand trying to attack the queen, but I don't think it's a threat as such. He can retreat it. Yes, or trying to Vishwanathan Anand trying to control the d file. Yeah, placing the Anish Giri placing it in a placing the bishop in on b3. It's such a beautiful square for it. It is controlling this whole diagonal. Trying to attack the f2 pawn, adding more pressure. D. Okay, okay. He was Anish wants to just exchange the rooks. Vishwanathan took it. I think he should have gone here and attacked the bishop. That was the best option, I think. Then the bishop can only sit here, which can be attacked maybe later at a later stage. I think that was the option. That was the good option. That was a good option, I think. But Vishwanathan took it. The rook takes. Protecting it so that the queen can also move freely, because I think he must have anticipated the move of rook coming to a1. And now the queen comes and add more pressure to the f2 pawn. Anish Giri goes ahead with the check. Now Vishwanathan has two options. He can move the king here, or he can move the knight here. Moving the knight here is a better option. I think it gives a balanced stage, but in that matter of time, it's a blitz game, you know. Vishwanathan Anand blundered with the king going to g7. Now this bishop is eyeing here, this rook is eyeing here. Anish went with the check. Now the king has only one safe square, that is the h6. King goes there. Now Anish plays a very deadly move. He just wants to control the g file. For that he has to pin the rook. So he went ahead with bishop f4, captures, and then queen f4. Then there is no much options for Vishwanathan Anand. He just captures, thinking of exchanging the queens. But then Anish again goes with the deadly move g6 check. No other option. The king has to move to h5. Now there are only two options. The bishop is coming to d3, sorry, d1, and giving a check. He can either defend it using this, he will loses the queen, or he can defend it using the rook. Then it will be captured with the queen, and it's a checkmate. Yeah, so this was the position, and this at this position itself, Vishwanathan Anand resigned. Yeah, so that was the game. I hope that you have learned something, some kind of tactics from this video. Thanks, and I will be coming up with more analysis of different games.